Hey y'all, sorry I couldn't be at the meeting today. I'm actually en route to Indianapolis to go down to Orlando for the bit. So I thought it might be easier to explain my idea through video and kind of walk you through what I'm thinking, and hopefully it will be insightful and can move the project forward. Okay, so Anaka, I got your recent email saying that to stick with the data that we currently have as opposed to trying to incorporate other data points, and I agree with that for some of the reasons that you mentioned, and that the data has already been vetted, it's been normalized, and we know that it's accurate. I want to propose that we use the World Bank data as well, given that it's the same data that has been cited inside of the data set that we received, and it allows us to look at national level data, which I think can provide for some comparison that would be really compelling and lead to better insights. So with that, with the similar to the State of the Future Index from the worldwide data, the national level data has like the exact same points. So let's take a nation A. Nation A has 28 different dimensions to it, and these are income inequality, the number of internet users per 1,000 people, the HIV transmission rate, everything that's inside of the data that we have from the world. We have each one of those for the individual nations over the time span that we're interested in. So we can take nation A, we can take nation B, and what I think can be really interesting is the relationship between how similar nation A is to B relative to all of the other nations. So it's like, how close are these groups to one another? Now, what we know from, I guess, data comparison is that when you're operating with, say, one dimension, like how tall is the graduating class of 2005, you can take everyone's height and you can plot it along a line, and you can see, where people rank from one to another. You can do a standard deviation of it and do the mean and everything. When you have two data points, say like how tall is everyone versus their weight, you can do something similar of height and weight, and you start getting a scatter plot of everyone, and then you can kind of find the best fit curve that goes through that. When you have 28 data points, that becomes markedly impossible. You can start applying different labels, like all the countries that have high income inequality will make those circles, and all the countries that are HIV infected will make those squares or something. But then it becomes immensely complicated in order to read and in order to visualize. So what we would need to do is to find a normalizing factor between all of these, and that's essentially what the State of the Future Index is. Inside of the assignment that I submitted on Sunday, you'll see a reference to the State of the Future Index as it relates to 4 countries that are in Eastern Europe. And what I found inside of the report is that the method that they use in order to calculate their State of the Future Index is very similar to the way that they went to do the worldwide index. They made specific adjustments to it because they were relative to the country. For instance, a country like, Madagascar, the amount of internet users may not be crucial to improving their particular future, and so they would change the weight value for the amount of internet users. But the mathematics that they used in order to calculate the index was the same. It was the minimum value, the maximum value over a set time period times the weight of the factor divided by, I think, the data itself, the raw data itself. And so those formulas are inside of that report. So what I'm proposing is that we calculate a State of the Future Index for each country using the weights that are used inside of the worldwide State of the Future Index. And so while they won't necessarily map directly to the countries, they will map to what it has been decided by the group of experts as the most important things for the world in total. So this allows for some really cool stuff. What the State of the Future Index shows over a period of time, T0 to T, I think, 25 years, is the indice values of where the world is supposed to be. And what we know is that at present day, T present, it is equal to 1. Like, that's where we are right now. But what we can then say is that 10 years ago, we were down here, and then 15 years in the future, we expect to be up here. And so we now have a best fit curve that we can get a slope from. And that slope is what's going to be really important, because if it's rising very quickly, then that means that the world is increasing very quickly to a better future. But if it's stagnant, or even declining, then we know that the world is heading to a worse future, or it's flatlining at the future. So we do these curves for every country. And we calculate the slopes, what is that, I think mx over my, of each of these countries, and we graph that. Because now we're only working with one data point, and we can do a standard deviation of all of these different countries. And now we can say that country A is really closely related to country B, but not related at all to country C. In terms of creating an infographic or creating a visualization of this that has a compelling narrative, we can say something like, what does Australia have to do with Zimbabwe? And it's like, now we can tell you, because we can associate these countries to one another. I don't know, and this goes back against what we did in our last meeting, I don't know if doing an animation video style is going to be the best way to present this, but it certainly could be. A thought that I had of an interactive tool that can be used, so kind of like a website platform, is we have a list of all of the countries. And we do it as some type of like scroll bar, something that you can kind of slide and go through all the countries. And in the center point, we have the world. And so this is the world's State of the Future Index, their slope curve for it. All of the countries that are above the world, hopefully the US and like France and China, they are doing massive improvements, or better improvements, so greater slope values, and pushing our future to a better state. The other countries, I won't list them because hopefully there aren't many of them, they're flatlining or doing a bad job at pushing the world into a better state. From here, you can then say, as a user, I'm going to click the United States and say, I don't know, Zimbabwe. Select those, and now I can compare them on all 28 dimensions. And maybe we do some type of highlighting in here to show where they're succeeding, or other highlights to show where they're failing relative to the world data that's here. But that's one option for some type of interactive component that allows us to navigate through the data. The thing that I think is most interesting is these associations here, so what countries are most similar to one another, and then how those countries relate to one another relative to the world. Are they improving it at a faster rate, or are they causing it to decline at a fast rate? And so even then, now I'm thinking about it, we could do the video that just walks them through something like this, that provides a story that walks them through, and then we present them after that with like a gigantic infographic or a gigantic interactive like website that allows them to just see the comparison between the countries. So I'm sorry that I'm not going to be there for the meeting. I might be able to like Skype in or something like that as I'm driving. I just won't be able to contribute as much as I would normally. But thanks for listening.